Hello, I am live for day one of Drop Your Money Story and Fund the Life of Your Dreams. This is take 3. Facebook is being very strange this morning. My first video was some kind of house of mirrors or something, fun house of mirrors, and then it wouldn't let me flip the screen, and I do these all the time. So part of our message today is going to be all about do it anyway. When you get resistance, when you get glitches, when it's not perfect. Hi, come on in. It's great to see you. Do it anyway. We are going to do this regardless of what appears to get in the way in the beginning. And this is day one. I have had my business for 12 years, and I have learned for quite some time that there's a process for manifesting and creating, and it's a 5-step process. And that is why I am going to take you through a 5-day challenge all this week. I'm going to give you things to work on. I'm going to be talking to you about things. I'm going to come on here every morning and we're going to kick this off and get our day and our week rolling along. And then we're going to do a check-in every evening where I am answering your questions, wrapping up the day, and seeing what is showing up. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad the people are pouring in so that we can use this community to lift each other up and rise together. The first thing I want you to do, that being said, is think about a number. Think about an amount of money that might feel like a stretch, but that you could create extra this week. You want to set goals that are a stretch, but in the beginning, you're still training your brain to believe, and you're still working on building evidence. So something that is a stretch, but is doable and reachable. I want you to think of a number, come up with a number. A number may just pop in your head, or you may have a real need. I need new tires for my car. I had my eye on that purse. It can be a desire, a want, or a need. And I really, really want it. And I want you to grab that number and I want you to focus on that number, because money loves a decision. Money loves you to pay attention to it. And money loves a place to go. And these are things that we are going to work on. Then what we're going to work on is all the stuff that comes up after that. Oh, I'd really love that purse and it costs several $100s. Now I'm going to shame and guilt myself or talk myself out of it. And then what I'll do is I'll create that I need new tires for my car, because that's much more reasonable and responsible and not so selfish. And then I will spend the money. All these little things that we do to ourselves and to each other around money. We're going to be paying attention to money and our relationship with money this week. We're going to be actively working with our money. So first thing, come up with a number of an extra amount of money you would like to add to your week, to add this week. And know exactly where that money will go. I'm going to teach you a shift right now. This is one of the biggest shifts I ever made. It has allowed me to consistently travel. It has allowed me to consistently have a business and not be employed by anyone else since 2006. It has allowed me to consistently invest in myself, to continuously build and grow my business. And that is, I learned to stop having the knee-jerk reaction, I can't afford it, I don't have the money. It's not really true. And this week, I'm going to show you why. Instead, I have learned to ask, how much is that? So I can create the money I need. How much is that so I can create the money I need? And then I am able to use the manifesting processes that I'm teaching you this week. Money loves attention and focus, and it loves a place to go. It wants to support you. Money is simply a resource that we have made all this other stuff about. We use it to project our stuff. We use it to work out our stuff. We use it as a very convenient excuse. I want you to let that land. We use it as a very convenient excuse. And money doesn't like that. When you're in a relationship, people wouldn't like that. You want to experience your relationship with money as any other relationship. So you're going to get that number, and you're going to think this: imagine if I created that extra amount of money this week. Here is what I would do with it. I had a mentor who taught me something that changed everything for me early on in building my business. He said, financial freedom is not how much money is in your bank account at any one time. Financial freedom is knowing how to create the money you want and need whenever you want and need it. Think about that. It's such a different energy. Thus, my big shift from how much is that? I can't afford that. I don't have the money. I don't know how I could do that. To instead, tell me how much it is so I can create it. Then I'm taking responsibility for the creation, because that same mentor also told me, where there is a desire, a way has already been made. Where there is a desire, a way has already been made. And it's true. I absolutely believe it. But sometimes we can't see it because of our belief system, which we're going to be working on this week. Or sometimes we see it and it doesn't show up how we want it. And it looks like hard work. It's illogical, it's inconvenient, it's uncomfortable, especially in the beginning, because it's going to stretch and grow you. If you were already a match to it, you would already have it. You're going to shift energetically. The 5 steps in any manifestation process I've been using for years for all transformation is discover, shift, act, believe, and create. Discover, shift, act, believe, and create. Today is day 1, discover. We're going to have to discover where we have money blocks, where we're falling in holes, where we're staying in the ditch, where we're writing and telling ourselves money stories that are not serving us. Because you have a money story. And remember, universal law says, whatever you say is. Whatever you say is. It has to act out your money stories. That's why I have called this Drop Your Money Story and Fund the Life of Your Dreams. It's a big promise, and it's something I've been able to do, and so I am able to help you do it as well. I'm going on this great cruise, and I see some of you on here who are going on the same cruise in October. I'm very excited. I used my processes to make the cruise happen. I saw it. I knew I wanted to go. I knew I had to go, and I invested the money to go. And this wasn't a huge stretch for me at this time, but it was for other people. I'm pretty confident now in being able to create the money, because here's the other thing I've done that a lot of you want to do and are working on doing. You're creating a business that supports the life you want to live. How I did this was I create a vision of the life I want to live, and then I create a business that supports and sustains that life. What I was seeing was every time we would post about this cruise, every time the person putting on the cruise would post, there'd be a lot of people that are using their life force energy to comment, must be nice, wish I could, in another lifetime, oh, if only. So you know they have a money story and they are begging to be released for it. They are begging for help because other people will simply see the cruise. Here's the difference. Some people will simply see the post for the cruise, or someone will tell them they're going and they'll say, oh, that's not for me. I don't choose to spend my money there. Oh, I don't want to do that. Fine, it's not for everyone. And they move along. Oh, interesting. No, not for me. I have one friend, a bunch of us are going on the cruise together, and she was able to say from a very non-triggered place, I am building my business this year and I have something else I want to invest the money in. So she did not want to create the money for this. She was building some boundaries around the things she would do, and she's already invested money to do something else that was going to serve her better. And I could tell she was not triggered. She was not sitting there, oh, all my friends are getting to go, and I don't get to go on this cruise. It's those people that are taking their time, their precious time and vital life force energy to make all those comments. Must be nice. Wow, way too expensive. If only, I could only imagine. When instead, they could be creating the money to go. They're playing out all their stuff and they're choosing to play out their stuff, and they're telling the universe, no, instead of creating a way, because I have a real desire, I'm going to get into my victimhood and I'm going to play out all my stories, and I'm going to spend my time saying, must be nice, wish I could, if only, not me, never me, everybody else, all of these stories. So the thing I'm going to ask you to do starting out this week is every time money comes up, from the shampoo you want to buy, to the tires you need to put on your car, to the cruise you want to take, whatever comes up this week, because we're setting it all in motion. Things are going to come up so you can see this, because we've set the intention by showing up here to work on this week. I want you to pay attention to what comes in and the stories you're telling, and I want you to catch them. I want you to share them. I want to coach you on them. I want to help you with them. Catch the stories you're telling, and catch anytime you're making yourself a victim. Not me, never me, always everyone else, never for this, I only. Whatever it is, catch them at work, catch them in your business, catch them at home, catch them with your spouse, catch them with your children, catch your parents and the stories they're telling that you're buying into or not buying into. This is about paying attention. Remember, day one is discover. And I'm giving you some of the big things that can get in your way. We have to discover. We have to become the observer. We have to catch ourselves in these things so that we can create this version of financial freedom where we're not playing out all our triggers and we're not living our money stories, and we are funding the life of our dreams. We're creating the vision and then we're funding the vision. Now, here's some of the things you might find. There's this whole dichotomy of not enough, just enough, and more than enough. And when you see generations of wealth, these people have learned to live in the more than enough. Now, I'm not going to say people who have money don't have all kinds of other problems, but sometimes people, especially people like us, get caught in this real tug. Why do I see all these people that are not heart-centered, they're not generous, they're not good people, which are judgments, and we're going to work on that. And they have all the money, and they create money, and they get all the money, because money is not an indicator of your value in the world. You are a precious child of God. You have value. And I want you to get this. Money is an indicator of the value you are bringing into the world and the marketplace. Think of the people who've become billionaires, millionaires. They bring something valuable into the marketplace, and they bring their ideas and they take the risks that a lot of people are not willing to take. You can identify starting out, were you living a life of not ever enough, just enough, or more than enough? Because a lot of people were living not enough. There's never enough money to pay all the bills. We don't have enough money to buy that. And they'll keep playing that out in their life, and it becomes so automatic. They do it even if it's not true. They're just so used to it. The voices in their heads. Do you all know what we're going to be shifting during our period of shift? We are energetic beings. We pick up the energy of everything and everybody. We are become an energetic match to our environment and everyone and everything in it. Before we have language, even in the womb, and once we come into the world, we have absorbed and continue to absorb these beliefs and these energies about money. Money is so highly charged. And it's meant to be a resource. A lot of people live in not enough. And if you can go back and see if you were programmed with that. My example is just enough. And it could sound like, well, that's better than not enough. But it has played out in my life until I discovered it and shifted it and took new actions and believed and created. So just enough looked like, there's not enough, there's not enough, there's not enough. But if I suffer enough, if I get into enough problems, the relief will come. If I beat myself up enough, if I'm suffering enough, someone will help me. And I know it came from generations of poverty. And here's the interesting thing. Once there was no longer poverty and just money struggle, my family still played it out. Because it was an energetic pattern, an ancestral pattern for us, and we kept playing it out. So we felt like we still had to get into that place. I even joined a church. I wrote a blog post later when I was really becoming aware. I caught this and it was like, oh my gosh. I was in a town where we have tons of churches, and we have a lot of the mega churches, the wealthy churches, and then I lived in middle class suburbs, a lot of churches that do really well. And I picked the one church that was on the struggle bus and lived by just enough comes in at the midnight hour if you suffer enough. And once I caught it, it was, oh my gosh. This is just familiar to me. It's comfortable to me in a very insane way. You're living in patterns like this that you're not even aware of. That church ended up going under. I ended up leaving that church, and that's when I started my business. That church taught me a lot of lessons, and I started my business 12 years ago that I have today. But first, I was trying to serve in that church. Just enough. What I realized was then I created it in my business. Just enough is going to come in at the midnight hour if I suffer enough, and then we have relief. So we also were very addicted to relief. Because if I could get the relief, that felt so good. I'm willing to trade the feeling bad to get the relief. So I would set up that cycle. It's the difference in when I learned how to create $5,000, but I was stuck in $5,000 will show up by the 30th or 31st day of the month. And there'll be a lot of angst and anguish in between, but God will provide and I will suffer and it will show up. Until I realized, well, then why can't I create the 5,000 in the first half of the month? Then why can't I create the 5,000 in the first week of the month? And then why can't I create it in a day? And then I don't have all the struggle. I don't have all the anguish and angst, and then I can make more money. But I was on this whole thing to create it by the end of the month. And if you give yourself a window that big, you will have that much time to create it. They've done fascinating studies about whatever window of time. They've gone and done productivity in businesses. When you set a project, however much time you give people, they will get it done in that time. So you see, I wasn't just having a bad habit. It was a bad habit, but it was from years and years and years ago, and patterns that repeated and repeated. And it's so unconscious. We've got to create this stuff. We've got to catch it. I want you to catch this stuff all week long. Become hyper aware of it. Once I saw it, it was like, I'm not ever doing this to myself again. Now, here's what's also crazy. Once I removed it, I had been using it as a motivator, and I suddenly started feeling like, oh, I don't have my motivator here. I had to create all new patterns and habits. So when I talk about it is serving you in some way, always, it was serving me in some way, and I had to get honest about it. I was addicted to the relief, and it was acting as a motivator, and I was giving myself the excuse of how much time it would take. We can actually collapse time. It is a construct of our own minds, and I've done it, and I will share with you how I've done it as we go along. Today is all about discover. Think about these things. Pay attention all week long. Pay attention to your money. Pay attention to what's coming in. Pay attention to what's going out. The other thing is we tend to look the other way. I used to be afraid. I don't want to check my bank accounts. I just had to write that big check. Oh, I don't want to look at how much is going out and not a lot is coming in. Oh, I don't want to look there. Oh, it'll all work itself out. I know. I just won't do anything about it right now. To the point that I began to write down every dollar I received every day and watch my money grow. A coach taught me that. It works so well. Tracking my money every day, then taking a total of the week, then taking a total of the month, then averaging it out for the year. Watching my money every single day. Setting money goals, putting a number to what I want. Our first money goal is that stretch, but it's doable and reachable of how we are going to create this amount of money extra this week, and we have a place for it to go. Take this in. So one of those is identifying what I was talking about. If you lived in any of these loops, never enough, just enough, more than enough. This is just one example of catching yourself. Where do you use money as an excuse? Catch it every single time. And where do you use lack of money as a motivator? Catch it every single time. Be catching this. Be writing it all down. So I use the cruise as an example. Those people, if I broke it down with them, they could create the money to take the cruise, and they're using it as an excuse. Same thing. What if you wanted to go to a retreat, a workshop? What if you wanted to work with a certain coach? Anything that's non-essential that you want. Where do you use money as an excuse? I'll use the coaching one because I have both hired coaches since 2009 and I'm both hired as a coach all the time. People show up with their money stories on the call. Remember, they could just not get on the call with me at all. They could just say, that's not for me. I don't want to spend my money there. They schedule calls, and before we can even get into it, they will start saying, I just want you to know I don't have any money. And they tell me all their money stories. They've actually shown up on that call because they want help with their money stories. That money story is not just for me. They are playing that money story out over and over again in their whole life. How you do anything is how you do everything. And they've shown up in some way because they want help with it. And I had to learn as a coach to stop falling into people's money stories. This may piss some people off. Your money stories, people's money stories, other people's money stories, they're never true. They're always about their stuff. Because I have had people feed me a money story and then go pay someone else who didn't fall into their money story a lot more money, or take a big trip or buy a new car. We're going to get more and more into this money story. Right now, I want you to catch your own and be willing to at least believe me, after 12 years of working with all of this, that your money stories are stories. And they can be gotten rid of, and then you don't have to live them out anymore. And when you get good at catching them, you can catch them and change your entire life. I will stand behind that. Today is about discover. This is to kick you off. We're going to be back on here live at 8 p.m. Central tonight, where I'll do the wrap up. You can ask questions, you can share, be in the group today during the day with your ahas, your takeaways. Yes, catching your crap, definitely. I own healyourcrap.com and healyourmoneycrap.com, and I have for years because it's such a huge piece of this. We'll get back together this evening. Be sharing in the group your ahas, your takeaways, what's showing up for you today. I'll show up in the group. I'll talk to you about it. We'll break it down. This is what I want you to start with. This is a day of discover. And the process I'm going to teach you, we're doing this over 5 days in a challenge, but then I'm going to show you how to use this every 30 days and use this ongoing and use this as a process. Discover, shift, act, believe, and create. So go out today, discover your relationship with money, discover your crap you're playing out with money, discover the ways you're not honoring and using money, discover the relationship you have with money. Set your money goal for the week of the extra money you want to create and give it a place to go, whether it is a want, need, or desire. And whichever one it is, make yourself right. I want you to let all this land. I want you to absorb all this. And I'm going to leave you with that. Have a great day, and I'll see you this evening.